Kia koutou te mana whenua o tēnei roe, Ngāti Toa, Te Atiawa, Kānui te mihi, kia koutou. Kia koutou e kawe ana ngā tikanga i ngā taonga o ngā mātua tūpuna, Kānui te mihi. Me mihi oki kia tātou e hui nei. O tira ki ngā tangata katoa, e tupu ana, e noho ana ki tēnei whenua ātāhua o Aotearoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Well, I want to acknowledge firstly Dr. Jill Lane. I didn't recognise you. It's your hair. It's changed. Yeah, so when you came up, I was looking for somebody else. The Director for Service Commissioning in the Ministry of Health, and Donna Matahaere Ataraki, the Chair of the NGO Council, for your leadership in organising this hui. And I was really pleased when I saw the list of over 90 organisations that had registered to attend this hui. Rōpū that I've had the privilege actually, of visiting and learning from in my various roles as Ministers of Community and Voluntary Sector, Disabilities, Health, Māori Development and Social Development. Old friends, champions of hope, crusaders for a better life for Whanau. Your name really says it all, and I notice, we've got names like Evolve, Emerge, Equip, Lavar, He Wakatapu, and so many others. So your names really do say it all, names which define and shape your direction, which emphasise values such as thrive, tautoko, support. And I think about those names and I compare that to the concept of not-for-profit. I'm not saying this to offend anybody, but I have always wondered, anyone would define themselves by what they are not. So they're either non-Māori, not-for-profit, apolitical. In fact, when one looks at the word profit, the word describes ideals that we might all aspire to. Value, benefit, advantage, gain. Are they not the principles that we might hold dear? And perhaps it is in that question that we come somewhat clearer to the reason why we have come to this forum and the greater purpose that motivates our work. And I'm sure each of you have come here clearly with a reason to be here. I've come today because I am tired of the failure of state agencies for well over 150 years to address their non-performance actually, and provide equitable resources to tangata whenua and trust us to actually know what is best for ourselves, rather than always ensuring that we have to depend on somebody else. That is not whānau ora. The overall focus for the forum is the New Zealand Health Strategy, and the 5 key themes in this is one team, smart system, people-powered, value and high performance, and closer to home. And there are many echoes there, of course, of the way of life that we know of as whānau ora. Whānau ora is about the expression of kotahitanga, a smart system by which local solutions are valued where performance matters in terms of how it empowers and enables the people to be in charge of their own destiny. It is a practice. It is a way of being. It is about building capacity and capability within the whānau so that they can be led to interdependence and long-term independence. It's all wrapped up in the messages that we send to ourselves about what we value. The notion of ora, complete and utter well-being. So we are all so tied up in that deficit approach, but where is the equity? Who gets the majority of the resources? With 1.2% of the health resource going to tangata whenua, who benefits? Sometimes I ask myself the question, how come doctors are able to be paid to ask the question, who smokes? What's going on there? How hard is that? When we know that most of the services get lumbered with the most difficult parts of smoking cessation, because we know that they have to address the addiction, and they're not funded adequately, in my view, to be able to do that. We're talking about a really significant issue that is confronting us in Aotearoa, and I do feel sorry for anybody who's got an addictions contract. Whanau order actually requires a massive mind shift, and I don't believe that that mind shift has happened. I don't know how many conferences in hui that I have been to talk about Whanau order, to the point of where I think to myself, I'm starting to think I'm talking to myself. So it does require a mind shift, and it's not about doing to or doing for or doing more, actually. It's about practicing differently. So I think about, what it means in a broader sense, and it's about places that we belong to, the places that we call home. Over the weekend, our whānau, for instance, the descendants of Tariana Turia and Taitapu, came together for a really special celebration. It was a 30-year birthday party, and it was the birthday party of our ko angareo, Te Utia Te Waka, Te Ko Angareo, and it was established in the early 1980s. And its name is important because Te Utia Te Waiko Whanau makes reference to the journey of Ho, our tūpuna, who was known for his travels and descent lines, and it conjures up associations with our ancient rivers at home, the Rangitike, the Turikina, the Wangaihu and the Wanganui. And the name honours our awareness of our whakapapa and identity, grounded in worldviews that are ngā wairiki Ngāti Apa. Our focus has always been in supporting our mokopuna to grow up on our marae within the knowledge and practices of their tūpuna, so that they can be strong in the identity of who they are, where they are from and where they are heading. To be able to support our whānau, to know that loving and caring for our tamariki is the most important job that we can ever do. Whanau ora is all about being people-powered, strengths-focused, collective in their impact, intergenerational in its approach. So let us now compare and contrast this to the oft-quoted 10-letter word that has captured the imagination of the state. That word could be tremendous, it could be remarkable, it could be aspiration, and it could be creativity, but instead it is vulnerable. What we call ourselves is really, really important. It impacts on the wairua and the souls of our tamariki and our whānau when we start to name them so negatively. One of the features of the current policy environment is an apparent confusion about the relationship between something called the social investment approach to policy, service delivery and funding, juxtaposed against a system that targets our most vulnerable children, whom we subsequently define as children in state care and those vulnerable to harm and abuse. Recently, Amal S. Al-Dosseri, the Vice Chairperson of the Committee on the Rights of the Child in Geneva, said in response to New Zealand's report for the United Nations, "We are well aware of the mandate of the Ministry of Vulnerable Children. We are happy to see that special attention and this huge effort is being put for the protection of vulnerable children. However, what we appreciate more as a committee is the consideration of each right stipulated in the Convention of each and every child living in the state party with equal importance. Looking at the name of the existing Ministry of Vulnerable Children, the name entails a stigma and labelling of a certain group of children. Please don't let us forget that. And please don't let us forget to challenge the state about using such descriptions of our children. And of course I understand that ensuring the right balance between universal, targeted and specialist policies will always be a constant challenge and area of debate. Public resources should not be siphoned off from one group of children, the universal provision, to another, and we call this targeted. We need to think about our attitudes and our behaviours to our own and how we can restore our self-belief in ourselves. Rather than narrowing our focus to all that is wrong and varying shades of vulnerability, we might take a more comprehensive and inclusive approach which instead prioritises how we link and connect to one another. How can we contribute actively to our collective story? Because we are all part of that long history and we are all part of that story. how we meet our responsibilities and obligations to be able to be the very best when we are working with our people. And we might call this kotahitanga, in the sense of affirming our relationships with one another. I'm really looking forward to hearing from Edward Montag of the Social Investment Unit, and in particular how the government's approach to social investment has moved on from a deficit model. Maybe as evidence of that progress, today might be the day we redesignate the Ministry of Vulnerable Children with its more aspirational focus as Oranga Tamariki. Strengths or deficits, problems or solutions, needs or aspirations, it doesn't have to be an either-or equation. The strategic view of health inequalities in England has introduced the concept of proportionate universalism, suggesting that health actions must be universal and not targeted, but with a scale and intensity that is proportionate to the level of disadvantage. Finally, I want to come back to my original invitation to speak to you today. One of the questions raised with me was how I might encourage the broader non-profit NGO sector to engage more effectively with Whanau Ora and or Māori clients. I would suggest that if they were probably given resources to do it, they'd do it. But when you're being asked to do it as part of your everyday work, it becomes a little bit difficult. And I have to say, it is really all about aspirations and attitudes, the approach that we take to the challenges that confront us. It's about actually believing in the whānau, that they can be and that they can do. It's about having trust and having the right lens when we are with them. It is not about service providers, it's actually about their practice. It's not about the contract, the practice of procurement, the guidelines for funding practice. It is about simply doing it, restoring to ourselves that we can be the architects of our own destiny, believing in our whānau being able to create their own solutions. Too easy to see everything that is wrong and to not actually see the leadership that may well reside within a whānau. I want to say to you something that I used to say to a friend of mine in Parliament when he used to ask me how many people we'd fixed up this month. And I'd go, none. And he'd go, well, what are you doing? And I'd say to him, well, I haven't met anybody who's been able to fix someone else up, actually. People fix themselves up. And I think that the sooner we capture that understanding of working alongside of and with whānau, the better we will all do. The other day, I was reading a book on leadership, and it's never too late to learn, I've discovered. And I found the section that I would really want to leave with you. When you unearth disempowered values and beliefs that affect your behaviour, structures, culture and results, you can create lasting change, individually and collectively. I believe that. I loved that book. We can all be powered by people, whānau focused, strengths driven. We can be smart in our thinking and design, tailor our strategies closer to home, build value in our relationships. And in doing that, maybe, just maybe, we will achieve the lasting change. And whether we call it oranga tamariki, whānau ora, or social investment, the change that we will create is the future of hope that we can all believe in. Nā reira, tēnā tātou.